I bought the cabin for solitude, but the first picture I shared of the lake view blew up in the family group chat. 10 minutes later, my mom messaged, "Perfect, Ethan and Lara can move in next weekend." They arrived with moving boxes, a toddler bed, and a realtor friend waving fake papers. I thought I'd finally carved out my own peaceful holiday. Turns out, I was crashing a scheme that had my signature faked on every page. My name is Harper Ellis. By day, I'm a senior copywriter at Cascade Creative, an agency in Port Haven that runs on espresso and deadlines. The office is a sleek glass building overlooking the harbor, where fog rolls in like a blanket every morning, muffling the sounds of ships and seagulls. I arrive early, usually before the rest of the team, my laptop bag slung over my shoulder, a thermos of black coffee in hand. The open plan space is dotted with whiteboards covered in sticky notes, campaign ideas scribbled in frantic marker strokes. I craft stories for brands, digging into what makes something essential, then polishing it until it shines irresistible. It's not just words. It's psychology, persuasion, the art of making people need what they didn't know they wanted. I'm damn good at it. Last year alone, I led 3 major rebrands that boosted client revenues by double digits. I take tangled truths and turn them into sleek, purposeful campaigns that win hearts and budgets. But my life isn't just the agency. I live in a sleek downtown loft, all exposed brick and harbor lights, a space I picked because it feels worlds away from home. The loft is on the top floor of an old warehouse converted into luxury apartments, with high ceilings and floor-to-ceiling windows that let in the salty breeze. At night, the lights from the boats dance on the water like distant stars, and I sit on my minimalist couch, a glass of red wine in hand, scrolling through design blogs or jotting down ideas for personal projects. Home was Willow Creek, Massachusetts. A sprawling Victorian with black shutters and a porch that screamed old money charm. The house sat on a hill, surrounded by maple trees that turned fiery red in the fall, the kind of place featured in lifestyle spreads, autumn leaves framing perfect symmetry. But symmetry was just their way of keeping everything in line. The wraparound porch had wicker chairs where my parents would host neighborhood gatherings, laughter spilling out while I watched from my upstairs window. Our family dynamic was a solar system. My parents, Margaret and Victor Ellis, the central stars, Margaret with her perfectly coiffed hair and pearl necklaces, always organizing charity events. Victor, a stern accountant with a penchant for tailored suits and lectures on fiscal responsibility. My older brother, Ethan, 3 years ahead, the golden planet everyone orbited. He was the star athlete, the straightest student, the one whose every achievement was celebrated with fanfare. Me? A forgotten asteroid, barely registering on their radar. I was the quiet one, the reader, the writer who preferred books to baseball games. The only one who truly saw me was Grandma Rose, my paternal grandmother, who lived in a cozy cottage on the outskirts of town. She had wild gray hair, a garden full of herbs, and eyes that twinkled with stories of her own rebellious youth. The house was a monument to Ethan. His baseball trophies gleamed in custom shelves along the foyer, polished weekly by Mom as if they were sacred artifacts. His academic awards marched up the staircase in gold frames, each one accompanied by a photo of him shaking hands with some dignitary. His scout badges were shadow-box-like art, displayed in the living room where guests could ooh and ah. My stuff, a plastic bin in the attic, buried under old wreaths, poetry contest wins from middle school, scholarship letters for creative writing camps, my first paid article in a teen magazine about environmental conservation. They clashed with the aesthetic. Mom would say with a wave of her hand, as if my accomplishments were mismatched socks in a drawer of silk ties. The overlooking started small, like a drip from a faucet you ignore until it floods the sink. It sharpened over holidays, those times when families are supposed to come together but ours just highlighted the divides. "Harper, we assumed you'd stay in the city with your work friends," Dad would say over the phone, his voice clipped and efficient. It was spontaneous "sorry it slipped our minds," or "Mom, you're so self-sufficient. We knew you'd be okay." Translation: "You weren't on our minds." I remember one Christmas when I was 15. I had saved up from babysitting to buy thoughtful gifts: a vintage watch for Dad, a scarf I knitted for Mom, a signed baseball card for Ethan. They opened them with polite smiles, then dove into Ethan's haul, a new laptop from them, custom jerseys from aunts and uncles. My gifts ended up in a pile, forgotten amid the wrapping paper. It traces back to when I was 9. Saturday morning, the kitchen thick with the scent of waffles and maple syrup. Mom was at the stove, humming a tune, shaping batter into a gianty for Ethan's big game that afternoon. He was Little League MVP, and the whole family was buzzing about it. I waited at the counter, my chin propped on my hands, stomach rumbling. The clock ticked loud, each second stretching like taffy. Ethan bounded in, all energy and grins, and Mom served him first, piling on whipped cream and berries. Dad clapped him on the back, discussing strategy. I sat there, invisible. Finally, I slid off the stool, grabbed 2 slices of bread from the pantry, and popped them in the toaster. Plain, no butter, scraping down my throat like sandpaper. No one noticed. That was the day I learned to feed myself, metaphorically and literally. It refined with age, becoming more sophisticated, more cutting in its subtlety. Senior year of high school, I won a national essay contest on social justice. The certificate came with a $500 check and an invitation to a gala in Boston. I burst through the front door that afternoon, heart pounding, waving the envelope like a flag. Mom glanced up from the dining table, where she was helping Ethan with his grad school applications. Wharton, of course, because nothing but the best for him. "That's sweet, honey," she said, her eyes flicking back to the screen. "Hey, quick, can you edit his personal statement? You're the writer in the family." I deflated, the excitement leaking out like air from a balloon. I spent the evening alone in my room, revising Ethan's essay while my own achievement sat unopened on my desk. The big one hid during my freshman year of college. I was at NYU, studying creative writing and marketing, thrilled to be out of Willow Creek. I had booked my train ticket months ahead for Thanksgiving, counting down the days to home-cooked turkey and family time, naive enough to think things might change. 2 days before, Dad called. Plans changed. We're heading to Florida last minute for a warmer holiday. Tickets too pricey to add you now. Catch you at winter break? His tone was matter of fact, as if discussing stock prices. I stammered an okay, hung up, and stared at the dorm wall. That Thanksgiving, I stayed in the empty residence hall, microwaving canned soup in the communal kitchen, binge-watching old movies on my laptop to drown out the silence. Come January, I visited Grandma Rose for a weekend escape. There on her fridge, held by a magnet shaped like a sunflower, the family holiday card. Them in matching flannels by our fireplace, smiles wide, dated Thanksgiving Day. No Florida trip. They just didn't want me there. The lie stung worse than the exclusion. It didn't shatter me completely, but it froze something deep inside. A layer of ice over my expectations. Coping became excellence, a shield I wielded like a sword. I built a life that needed no invites, no validations from them. I stopped hinting at visits, stopped hoping for acknowledgments. I planned solo holidays like operational missions, remote cabins in the Adirondacks, fine dinners for one at upscale bistros where I'd savor each bite in peace, scents that were mine alone. Clove and cinnamon meant their gatherings, distant laughter behind closed walls, the aroma of exclusion. I claimed lavender instead. Lavender candles flickering in my loft, herbal tea steeping in my mug, soap bars that left my skin smelling clean and sharp. The aroma of my earned quiet, a reminder that I could thrive in solitude. Work at Cascade was my momentum, the engine driving me forward. The last 8 months had been a whirlwind. Rebranding Northwave Gear, a company that made bulky outdoor equipment, transforming it into something accessible, an escape for the everyday person. My concept, Echo Off, not about conquering peaks with macho gear, but finding your own signal in the urban chaos, tuning out the noise to hear your inner voice. I pitched it in boardrooms, refined it in late-night sessions, watching the campaign come alive through ads, hikers in misty forests, their faces serene, gear blending seamlessly into the landscape. The launch smashed projections, website traffic up 400%, sales spiking in the millennial demo. Review day arrived like a storm front, the glass conference room overlooking the ocean fog. Clients dialed in on the big screen. My team, Mia the graphic designer with her colorful tattoos, Theo the data analyst with his perpetual coffee stain on his shirt flanking me. I stood at the front, clicker in hand, slides transitioning smoothly. We didn't meet goals, I said, pausing for effect as murmurs rippled. We redefined them. The 18-34 demo is up 350% in 4 months. Engagement metrics through the roof. Charts flashed. Bars climbing like skyscrapers. The clients erupted in applause over the video feed. Questions flying about next phases. Afterward, Lena pulled me aside in her office. A corner space with succulents and award plaques. No fluff. Just straight talk. Clients are raving. The board too. She slid an envelope across her desk. I opened it, and the numbers blurred. A bonus check for $92,000. Immediate deposit. Not just cash, it was a key. To freedom. To something entirely mine. My instinct was to share it with my parents, that old habit of seeking approval. But I crushed it down. Remembering Dad's email from last week, a link to Wharton's MBA program. Like Ethan did, great move for your career. Ethan, the perpetual consultant, bouncing from job to job while our parents still covered his rent, his car payments, his everything. Instead, the team celebrated at the rooftop bar that night, tacos under string lights, toasts clinking with margaritas. To Harper, who makes fleece sexy, Mia joked, and the laughter was warm, genuine. But I stepped out onto the balcony, the harbor wind whipping my hair, and called Grandma Rose. I told her everything, the bonus figure spilling out in a rush. Silence on her end. Then her voice, crackly but strong. High time they saw you for what you are. A pause. Proud of you, kiddo. You built this solo. Her words wrapped around me like one of her knitted blankets. That night, back in my loft, the bonus plus my savings equaled possibility. I opened Zillow on my laptop, the screen glowing in the dark room. Impulse took over. Search Pine Hollow, a remote valley 3 hours inland from Port Haven, known for its dense forests and pristine lakes. I scrolled through listings, cabins, chalets, rustic retreats. Stopped on one. A cedar chalet with sharp lines, wrapped in evergreens, a huge wraparound porch overlooking Ridge Lake. The photos showed snow-dusted pines, the lake frozen like a mirror, the interior warm with wood tones. I imagined waking there, the quiet pressing in. No expectations but my own. Midnight found me dialing the agent, Clara Voss, her voice sleepy but professional. "Can we do a video tour now?" I asked, half expecting a no, but she agreed. And soon my screen filled with the chalet's details, vaulted ceilings beaming with exposed timber, a stone hearth big enough to warm a small army, walls of windows framing the frozen lake. The porch was vast, suspended over the wide expanse, with room for chairs and a swing. Isolated, miles from the nearest neighbor. Perfect. As Clara panned the camera, I whispered to myself, "Can I wake up here alone and feel whole?" The answer echoed in my chest, yes. It unclenched something tight inside me. The next day, I formed Ecopine LLC, the name a shield for privacy. All cash offers submitted, quick close negotiated. The weeks blurred into machine mode, workdays sharp and focused, pitching new campaigns, mentoring juniors, nights spent on documents, virtual inspections, packing lists. I told only Grandma Rose, her excitement mirroring mine over facet time. "Your own haven," she said, her eyes misty. My creed solidified. Keys mine. Address secret. Access by invite only. Closing day. The keys felt heavy in my hand, cold metal promising permanence. I drove up that afternoon with basics loaded in my SUV, a duffel of clothes, a thermos of coffee, a playlist titled New Horizon filled with orchestral strings and calm vocals that build to resolve. The road wound through hills, pavement giving way to gravel, pines closing in like guardians. Arrival at dusk. The chalet a dark silhouette against the fading sky. Cold pine air hit me as I stepped out, crisp and invigorating, carrying hints of snow. I unlocked the door, the creak echoing in the empty space. First night, air mattress inflated by the hearth, flames flickering from logs I stacked myself. The ache of sole responsibility settled, not a burden, but an anchor grounding me. Life bifurcated seamlessly. Weekdays at the agency, diving into client meetings and copy revisions. Weekends at the chalet, laboring with purpose. I stripped the dated oak cabinets to their natural grain, sawdust coating my hair and clothes, muscles screaming from the effort, but each stroke of sandpaper felt like renewal. I upgraded fixtures to matte black, installed warm LED lights that flooded the space with golden glow. Satisfaction ran deep, a quiet hum in my veins. Locks were paramount. Smart deadbolts synced to my app, logging every entry. Reinforced plates that thumped solidly when engaged. Security wasn't paranoia, it was sovereignty. Furnishing came slow and deliberate. A king-sized mattress delivered and set up alone. A plush sectional for the living room. Guest beds assembled with tools I bought specifically for the task. These weren't obligation rooms. They were chosen sanctuaries for the overlooked, spaces I could share on my terms. The porch got fairy lights, strung in the freezing dark, their glow like a beacon over the lake, twinkling against the ice. A grocery run to the local market in Pine Hollow introduced me to the community. The store was a quaint wooden building with creaky floors and shelves stocked with fresh produce and homemade jams. The cashier, an older woman named Betty with a kind smile and flour-dusted apron, rang up my items. "New at the Cedar Chalet on Ridge Lake?" she asked, eyeing my basket of staples. "Yeah, just closed on it," I replied, surprised. "Good structure, we wondered who'd revive it. Been empty a couple years." "I'm trying," I said with a grin. Welcome to Pine Hollow. It was the first true welcome I'd felt in years, unburdened by expectations. I tested the joy of the place by inviting my team, Mia, Theo, and Lena, for a weekend getaway. They arrived Friday evening, cars crunching on the gravel drive, arms full of wine and board games. I made chili in the big pot on the stove, the aroma filling the vaults, and we gathered around the hearth. Laughter echoed off the beams as we played charades, stories spilling out late into the night. It held warmth, real and unforced. Magic. A fast-time tour with Grandma Rose sealed it. Her face lit up on the screen as I panned through rooms. "You built your own haven," she said, voice thick. My throat tightened. I nodded, unable to speak. Emboldened, I made a private Insta post, a photo of the porch at dawn, mist rising over the lake like smoke. Another of my coffee mug by the hearth, flames dancing close. Caption: claimed my silence. It was meant for a small circle friends, colleagues, but somehow it leaked. Next morning, notifications stormed my phone from the family group chat. Mom had screenshotted my post. Thrilled Harper's gorgeous lake retreat. Ideal for Ethan, Lara, and the baby. Their lease is ending soon. Bringing the nursery set up Friday. So grateful. It was a proclamation. My sanctuary rezoned for the Ethan empire without a vote. Dad chimed in, prudent to discuss major buys with family tax and liability implications we can optimize. Ethan, a thumbs up emoji followed by a photo of a U-Haul truck, boxes labeled nursery and master bedroom. A solo text from Mom. Christmas at yours this year settled. We'll handle the food. You just relax. The audacity hit like a slap. Non-negotiable invasion, sweetened with a grocery bribe. I replied in the chat. No, I have my own plans. This is not up for discussion. The call barrage started immediately. First Mom, her voice saccharine. Honey, think of the family. Ethan's in a bind. And this place is perfect. We can make it work for everyone. Then Dad. Not a game, Harper. We need to align resources. Be useful for once. My voice stayed even. Still beneath the calm. My home is not your solution. This is final. Do not come uninvited. We'll see, he said, hanging up. I archived the screenshots in a folder labeled Lake Limits, evidence for whatever came next. Grandma Rose called that evening, her intuition sharp as ever. They'll show up anyway, she warned. Keep the doors locked, call the sheriff if needed. Treat them like trespassers. I shifted into strategist mode, the same mindset that won campaigns at work. I consulted an attorney, Rowan Hale, a property specialist in Port Haven with a reputation for no-nonsense defense. His office was in a historic building downtown, bookshelves lined with legal tomes, a view of the harbor similar to mine. I laid out the story over coffee, showing texts and posts. They can't just claim it, he assured, drafting a no trespass letter that named them specifically, filed with the county. I emailed the family to clarify no visits, no occupancy. I have private plans in place. Respect my boundaries. To fortify, I reinforced the doors, angled security cameras to cover every approach. They arrived on December 23rd. Just as Grandma predicted, 2 SUVs pulling up the drive, suitcases tumbling out, a toddler bed propped against one vehicle, a locksmith in tow with his toolkit. A realtor friend, some slick guy named Mark, waved papers that looked official at first glance. The doorbell chimed through my app. I watched on the camera feed, heart steady. Over the speaker, "This is private property. You are not invited. Leave immediately." Mom's voice, sugary and insistent. "Harper, it's freezing out here, open up. We brought pie. Your favorite apple cinnamon." The locksmith started drilling at the lock, tools whirring. I called dispatch. Voice calm. Active trespass and attempted break-in at my property. I have documentation. The deputy arrived within 15 minutes. Siren silent, but lights flashing blue and red against the snow. He checked IDs, read the no trespass notice aloud. The locksmith paled, packed up, and fled. The family loaded back their things, faces thunderous, escorted off by the officer. Christmas came and went in bliss. My team and a few neighbors over, gifts exchanged by the tree I decorated myself, chili simmering, snow falling softly outside. Laughter filled the chalet, a chosen warmth. But Mom wasn't done. She posted on Facebook, "Miracle Ethan and Lara's safe haven secured. Mood board peak. Tagged Pine Hollow locals. Photos of nursery designs superimposed over stock lake images." A DM from a concerned neighbor tipped me off. Dad was inquiring about family property managers using my parcel number. I checked the county portal. Forged residency papers filed. Mail redirects attempted in my name. Back to Rowan. Phase 2 fraud. He prepped to cease and desist. Fraud alerts with credit bureaus. A protective order in the works. Dad texted at midnight. Photos of him stuffing fake affidavits into a P.O. box downtown. My trail cam caught it all. Time stomped. I filed emergency motions. Forgery, tampering, harassment. Mom's response text. "We tried the nice way, you forced this. Grandma, they reap what they sow. Stand firm." New Year's Eve. I hosted a party full house with team, neighbors, even Clara the agent. Lights strung, music playing, witnesses aplenty. Laminated notices of the legal orders displayed prominently by the door. They showed up unannounced, 2 SUVs again, this time with a mediator, some family friend with a briefcase full of bogus consent by silence papers, claiming my lack of response meant agreement. I opened the door just wide enough. "You're trespassing. Leave now." Held up my docs, the deed in my name, court orders, pending motions. The deputy on standby in the driveway emerged and served summons right there, fraud charges, restraining order violations. Lara broke first, tears streaming. "We're not raising our baby in a stolen home." She turned and walked away, Ethan following with slumped shoulders. Defeated, they retreated into the night. I closed the door. Thunk of the lock. To my guests, "Cocoa on the porch, extra marshmallows?" The party resumed, louder, freer. Silence mine now. Full, chosen, unbreakable. But that was just the beginning of truly claiming it. In the months that followed, the chalet became more than a refuge. It evolved into a symbol of my autonomy. Spring brought thawing ice on the lake, the evergreens shedding their winter weight, buds pushing through the soil around the porch. I planted a lavender garden along the path to the door, the purple blooms a daily reminder of my chosen scent. Work at Cascade continued to thrive. I landed a promotion to creative director, overseeing a team of 5, including Mia and Theo, who became not just colleagues but confidants. We brainstormed campaigns in the office, but sometimes I'd host retreats at the chalet, turning the space into a creative hub where ideas flowed as freely as the lake water. The family fallout lingered like a shadow, but I kept it at bay. Emails from Mom arrived sporadically, laced with guilt trips. We only wanted what's best for everyone. Family sticks together. Dads were more pragmatic, hinting at legal countersuits that never materialized. Rowan shut them down swiftly with counters of his own. Ethan sent one message terse, "Didn't think you'd go this far." I didn't respond. Grandma Rose visited in April, her first trip to the chalet. We sat on the porch swing, sipping tea, watching birds skim the lake. "You've rewritten the family story," she said, squeezing my hand. "Not with their ink, but yours." I started journaling there, pages filling with reflections on neglect turned to strength. One entry, "The overlooked become the overseers of their own destinies." It inspired a personal project to blog under a pseudonym, sharing stories of reclaimed spaces, Anonymous tales from others who'd built havens from hurt. Comments poured in, connections forming in the digital ether. Summer brought heat waves to Port Haven, but up in Pine Hollow, the lake cooled everything. I swam daily, the water shocking my skin awake, strokes carrying me far from shore where the world felt vast and mine. Neighbors became friends. Betty from the market hosted barbecues, introducing me to the town's quirks, the annual Pine Festival, hidden hiking trails. I hiked alone at dawn, boots crunching leaves, mind clearing with each step. By fall, the leaves turned again, mirroring Willow Creek but without the bitterness. I hosted Thanksgiving at the chalet, not for blood family, but chosen ones. Mia brought her famous pies, Theo his playlists, Lena stories from her travels. Grandma Rose flew in, her presence the anchor. We feasted around the hearth, toasts to new traditions. The legal ties severed cleanly, protective order granted, fraud cases dropped when they backed off. No more schemes, just silence from their end. Now, as winter circles back, snow blanketing the lake once more, I sit by the window, laptop open. The story of the chalet isn't over, it's ongoing. A narrative I author daily. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'm curious, where are you tuning in from? Let me know in the comments below so we can connect. And feel free to share your own thoughts on this. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And if this story resonated with you, please support us by hitting that hype button so it can be heard by more people.